Ah, what a beautiful night for a rude awakening. It's a beautiful rude awakening because once we get this, after the initial shock and disorientation, we're more stably positioned to advance in it in a positive kind of a way. People do not get what they think they want. People do not get what they want to want. People do not get what they want others to think they want because they want others to think well of them. People get what they really want. Now, for most people, what they really want is subconscious because there's a lot of negativity in it, and they'd rather not be aware of it. So they put themselves in a state of dissociation, and then things just sort of like pop up on the screen of their reality, and they don't know how it happened to them. In order to be able to get what we want in a positive way, we have to do battle with our own shadows. You don't have to do battles with Iran, and you don't have to do battles with Hezbollah. You have to do battle with your own internal turmoil, with your own conflicting wants and interests and ambitions and so forth and so on. When we get that under control, that is when we become sovereign. Being sovereign is being in control of the various internal moments within us and being able to translate that into an actuality. That is what being sovereign is. Most of the Jews, unfortunately, think that the battles that we read about in Torah are Israel doing battles with other peoples. That's only on a very, very, very low level for those who didn't have their imaginations under control. They didn't have their various faculties under control. When we read about kings doing battle, and when we read about judges doing battle, when we hear about prophets giving counsel how to do battle, what they're talking about is how to do the internal battle, how to get our various moments in coordination with one another, all on board with doing good in the world, with increasing peace in the world, and learning how to translate that into reality. Why am I saying this? I was just listening to Neftali Bennet, whom I like very much. I think that of all of the the politicians in Israel, he's the pick of the litter. I like him. If he were to run for prime minister, I would vote for him. Not because I need him as prime minister, but because I would want that for those who need a prime minister. He was talking about the need for regime change in Iran. And he means entirely well when he says that. It is futile to change the regime in Iran. The Iranian people went from being under the thumb of the Shah to being under the thumb of the Ayatollahs. So although the Iranian people seem like very nice people, and consciously they are, they're good people, they're good folks. Internally, There's something very different going on. And they're playing roulette with themselves. They're playing Houdini with themselves. And they are bringing into existence regimes that will not allow them to have peace. They always have to be in tension. Now, if what I just said to you sounds like an exact description of Israel, you're absolutely right. Your enemy is always your mirror image, with the things that you dislike about yourself most exaggerated, with the things that you need to deal with that you're not dealing with most exaggerated, so that you don't have the possibility of ignoring them. When we are confronted with that which within us has not been purified, that we don't want to talk about, we don't want to think about, we dissociate ourselves from it. When we encounter it in the form of an enemy, you can no longer ignore it, especially if they have an arsenal. And that's what's going on here. So there is a strange irony in Israel wanting to change the regime of the Iranian people for the good of the Iranian people when the Israeli people have a leader like Netanyahu. To understand how serious this is, we need to be cognizant of the fact that the kingdom of David, according to Hashem's words, is eternal. It doesn't like stop for a while and maybe it'll come back, make a comeback. It's eternal. And that means that the Jews who are prepared to accept the conditions of the kingdom of David are living in the kingdom of David now, actually. And in the kingdom of David, David doesn't reign as a supreme Ayatollah, the Havdil. He is the ultimate example of what it is to be sovereign. But the others who live in the kingdom of David are sovereign as well. He just does it better than everybody else. So those who have already attained sovereignty are learning even more about sovereignty from David. That's the way it works. That's their world. Some of the people who live in the kingdom of David come into this world and walk around and describe what the kingdom of David looks like, so that those who are world weary of this awful ersatz can begin to make the ascent to the kingdom of David. But so long as the Israeli people have a leader like Netanyahu, talk of changing the regime in Iran for their own good, while the intention is honorable, they mean well, it's not going to happen on the ground. We all have to do the internal work of, first of all, becoming sovereign. And this is the reason why it is absolutely essential that Jews connect themselves with the progenitors of the people of Israel, our holy fathers and mothers, and with the judges and with the prophets, because they attained that level. And if you want to attain a certain level, you have to learn from those who did. You have to attach yourself to those who did. You have to be in the presence of those who did. Those Jews who are in the presence of the rabbis, who have internalized the teachings of the rabbis, are internalizing the teachings of people who didn't attain sovereignty, who were run out of Israel because their interpretations and their behavior wasn't fit to be in Israel. So there's no way that somebody attains the kingdom of David by attaching themselves to those whom the kingdom of David exiled. Yeah. The exile from the kingdom of David is imagining that the kingdom of David no longer exists. I'll say that again. The exile from the kingdom of David is the delusion, the appearance that the kingdom of David no longer exists, that it was something long ago and far away, and we don't have access to it. Anybody who's in that kind of state of mind has been exiled. My prayer would be for them to take pity on themselves and pray to Hashem to do the real work that's required in order to be able to become broken in heart enough and humble enough to be able to get initial entrance into the kingdom of David, in which they can do the rest of the work. You don't have to come already perfected, but you have to come with the right attitude. And all of the Jews that are attaching themselves onto rabbis who were themselves in exile are learning how to be exiled. And that's really a pity. So our job is not changing the regime in Iran for the sake of peace. Our job is changing the internal regime, achieving internal peace, and being in a position to then project that out into reality. Thank you for listening.